بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Season 4 of Once Upon a Crescent, a Muslim kids podcast. Dear kid listeners, these stories are just for you, written and produced by me, your author and narrator, Mrs. Hashmi. Let's switch on our imaginations with today's story. This episode is sponsored by Al Maghrib Institute, a pioneer in providing Islamic education in exciting and creative ways. More about them and their exciting new kids platform at the end.
Today's story is called The Princess Warrior.
Mahveen, I have a question. Can princesses also be warriors? Mahveen leaned into her friend Mahnoor to answer, but their discussion was cut short when the teacher interrupted. Girls, you all have time during recess to talk and play with each other. Please pay attention to today's lesson in Sunday school. The girls straightened out in their chairs and glued their eyes to the whiteboard where Sister Khadijah was standing. Mahnoor zoned out and stared outside of the window to the playground where she was itching to go and play. Coming to the masjid for Sunday school was enjoyable for Mahnoor because she was able to do what she loved most, play pretend at the playground with her friends during recess. Sister Khadijah walked over to Mahnoor and tapped on her paper. Here, dear, you have to answer the question I just asked here. Mahnoor looked down to her blank worksheet and realized everyone in Sunday school class was writing away on their paper except for her. She read the question out loud to herself. Name a real-life famous female hero that you know of. Mahnoor went blank. It was like her brain had no connection of those two words. Female? Hero? I mean, sure, there were plenty of superheroes, but none of them are even real. Sister Khadijah noticed Mahnoor's face and rubbed her back. She whispered, Okay, you can leave this line blank and complete this after recess. The bell rang inside the masjid classroom. All the kids pushed their chairs in and lined up, excitedly waiting to be with their group of friends. Mahveen grabbed hold of Mahnoor's hand and tugged her along the playground. Mahnoor, you asked me such a cool question. I think princesses can also be warriors. Let's play that. I want to be a princess warrior. Mahveen jumped up and pounded her fists. Mahnoor giggled. Okay, I'm in. I'm a princess warrior too, Mahnoor exclaimed as she pretended to unsheath a sword. The girls started to pretend fight, jumping around on the slides, dodging each other's sword slashes, and hopping on the benches in the sidewalks as they tried to tag each other with their pretend weapons. Mahnoor was running out of breath when she paused and raised her hand up for a timeout. Okay, Mahveen, let's pretend our nighttime warrior duties are done, and now we can go back to our castle as princesses and rest for the night. The girls skipped around the playground, acting like a horse was trotting them along to their castle. The girls pretended to ride their horses and stopped underneath the slides. A boy from Mahnoor's class watched as the girls created more details about their fun story to role play on the playground. Mahd was interested in this pretend game, but he couldn't get over one pressing question that he just had to blurt out to the girls. Assalamu alaikum, excuse me, but I have to ask, how can a princess be a warrior? This game doesn't make sense to me. There's no such thing as a princess warrior. Mahd exclaimed out loud to the girls, hoping he'd find some answers from them. The girls abruptly stopped their pretend horseback ride and turned around to face Mahd. Mahveen squinted and replied, "We're princesses during the day and warriors at night. We solve problems for our people as princesses, and at night we fight crime and bad guys. Oh, and we get our rest and sleep somewhere in the middle, okay?" Mahnoor quickly added, "It's our pretend game. Do you want to play? You could be a warrior too." Mahd shook his head in frustration. "Wait, no, I'm not part of the princess part. Okay, I'll be the leader warrior to teach you all the moves." "No, Mahd, we already know all the moves. We were warriors before you even entered the game." Mahd nodded slowly. "Okay, yeah, that's true. Never mind, I don't want to play." Mahd quickly announced to the girls and walked off. Mahnoor and Mahveen shrugged and continued on with their recess. The girls were all over the playground, creating stories out loud, recruiting other girls from their class to join in on their pretend adventures, and just simply enjoying their Sunday school time at recess. Mahd continued to watch as many girls in his class all participated in this game. It felt like the girls were putting on a whole performance with their imaginations on the Sunday school playground. Mahd stood up to interrupt the girls one more time for some clarification on another pressing question. "Okay, I have to say, there really is no such thing as a princess warrior. Do girls even fight warrior style with dangerous weapons like a sword and shield? Like, you guys are pretending, Mahveen and Mahnoor, but that's not real," Mahd said. Before the girls had a chance to reply, Mahd continued, "Oh, and another thing, to be a warrior, you would have to be super brave and strong to even hold any of those weapons, and you'd have to understand how to fight. Princesses don't know any of that." Mahnoor and Mahveen scowled and frowned at Mahd. They did not want to waste their precious recess time arguing with Mahd about their pretend game. "Mahd, stop interrupting us. We're trying to play," Mahveen said. Sister Khadijah rushed over to the girls and tried to cool things down between the girls and Mahd. Sister Khadijah smiled at Mahd. "I think this is pretty interesting, Mahd. Princesses, the way you understand them, may not hold dangerous weapons, and they might not fight in dangerous ways. But maybe the girls aren't pretending to be a made-up princess warrior. Maybe they're pretending to be a real person, like Nusaybah." The girls looked puzzled. "Who's Nusaybah? Who's Nusaybah? Who's Nusaybah?" they all asked. Sister Khadijah, the Sunday school teacher, smiled. "Okay, I was waiting for us to go inside for today's lesson to tell you guys about Nusaybah bint Ka'ab. She actually was a warrior. She was the first female warrior who actually fought in the battlefield alongside with the Prophet ﷺ. She protected and defended him from the enemies during the Battle of Uhud. During that battle, some men left their positions thinking they had already won and that the battle was over. But not Nusaybah radiyallahu anha. She was there through and through in the defense of the Prophet ﷺ. The kids stared at Sister Khadijah in disbelief. "Wait, so she knew how to fight?" asked Mahd, impressed. Sister Khadijah raised her eyebrows and nodded slowly. She was swinging the sword, lifting up her shield on total attack mode, and doing the most amazing moves, like literally what you would imagine a female warrior hero could do. She protected the most important person on the battlefield, the Prophet ﷺ. Sister Khadijah at this point seemed like she was pretend playing too. She couldn't help herself. Sister Khadijah moved around the playground as if she was on the battlefield too. Sister Khadijah's eyes widened bright as she exclaimed, "Do you know what the Prophet ﷺ said about her when he recalled what had happened later? He was bragging about this female warrior. He said, 'Wherever I turned, left or right on the day of Uhud, I saw her, Nusaybah, bint Ka'ab, fighting for me.' You know, by the end of the battle, Nusaybah radiyallahu anha had 13 wounds." The kids were so drawn into the story that no one even noticed the bell ringing. The signal to return to the masjid classrooms was ignored. Sister Khadijah continued, "She was brave, she was fierce, she was strong, and she was so sincere. The Prophet ﷺ made dua to Allah for his warrior companions. The Prophet ﷺ said, 'O Allah, make them my companions in the garden.'" Mahnoor and Mahveen were just about to address Mahd when suddenly Mahd exclaimed, "That's so cool! I can't even imagine that. I wonder if she knew how to ride a horse. But she wasn't a princess, so this still means Mahnoor and Mahveen's pretend game doesn't make sense." Hey, it's pretend for a reason, Mahd. Also, if we had to pick between princess or warrior, we'd totally pick warrior, like Nusaybah bint Ka'ab, Mahveen proudly stated. Mahnoor nodded in agreement with her friend's statement. Mahd jumped right in between Mahnoor and Mahveen. "Okay, if that's the case, then I'm ready to be a part of this pretend game too. You guys can be the princess warriors, and I'll just be the plain warrior." The girls giggled at Mahd's sudden change of heart to join their game on the playground. Sister Khadijah glanced at her watch and exclaimed, "Oh, okay girls, how about you all take up Mahd's offer next week? But for now, we have to return to class." The kids lined up behind Mahnoor to head back to their classroom. Once the class was settled, Mahnoor returned to her seat and smiled at the worksheet waiting for her at her desk. She had left the question blank on her sheet that read, "Name a real-life famous female hero that you know of." This time Mahnoor looked at the worksheet, knowing exactly which name to write down. Mahd elbowed Mahnoor and whispered, "I think we'll have the same answer." Thank you for listening to
The Princess Warrior.
Before I conclude this episode, there's just one more pressing question that needs to be asked.
Is there any more Muslim female warriors? Was Nusaybah a warrior ninja?
May Allah reward Al-Maghrib Institute for sponsoring this podcast. Al-Maghrib, in partnership with Noor Kids, has launched a brand new platform just for kids. It's called Ilm Spring, a unique platform empowering kids to grow into confident believers through unique programs on Salah, Quran, and building a powerful relationship with Allah. They've got some fun and exciting new programs in the works, so be sure to check them out at the link in the description.